Greetings and salutations, magical chemists. Let's talk in a little more detail about how covalent bonds form. Technically, covalent bonds form when orbitals overlapped and in fact merge. There are two different ways this can happen, in a sigma bond or a pi bond. A sigma bond is when orbitals overlap end to end. This means the electron density is concentrated between the nuclei of the two atoms. So for instance, if two s orbitals are overlapping, and s of course looks like a sphere, and so they will in fact merge and overlap where the density is in between the two nuclei. There is, however, a second type of bonding that can occur. Pi bonding is what happens when you have p orbitals that are involved in bonding, and they overlap side by side. So in this case, notice that if you look at where the two electrons are found, there's not really any electron density immediately between them. In fact, the electron density is above and below because of the shape of the p orbitals, what happens when they bond. So what you have to know is how to identify in a given bond type as it being formed of a sigma bond or a sigma and pi bonds. Well, luckily enough, if it is a single bonds are always made of a single sigma bond. They both start with the same thing, so if you think single, think sigma. However, even double and triple bonds have sigma bonds as well. There's always going to be one sigma bond that forms before pi bonding can occur. So a double bond will have one sigma bond, but it will also have one pi bond. A triple bond will have one sigma bond, but this time it will have two pi bonds. So as far as AP chemistry is concerned, all you have to do is, given a structure, identify how many sigma and pi bonds it has. That's as much detail as it goes into. Counting sigma bonds is easy. Look for regions of basically bonding domains. Well, if you look at formaldehyde, it has 1, 2, 3 bonding domains. There must be 3 sigma bonds, because any bond that forms must contain one sigma bond. Now for pi bonds, what you have to realize is that in this double bond, there are of course 2 bonds, but one of them is sigma, one of them is pi. So in this molecule, there is only a single pi bond. The next molecule is a little more fun. So I would like you to go ahead and count how many sigma bonds, how many pi bonds do you see? And when you're ready to check your answer, unpause the video. Well, when I counted, I got 8 sigma bonds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But for pi bonds, only 3. Notice, it's a triple bond, so that means 2 pi bonds there. And then we've got a double bond, so there's 1 pi bond there. So that's it. That's all you have to know. All right, let's talk about something a little more interesting. Because it turns out when covalent bonding occurs, the orbitals don't just overlap. Sometimes they actually change or blend together, forming what are called hybrid orbitals. Now, hybrid orbitals officially are orbitals of equal energy created by blending 2 or more valence orbitals on the same atom. It's important to recognize that the same type of atom can actually have different types of hybridization depending on the other atoms it's bonded with. Luckily, hybridization is actually really easy to determine. All you have to do is count your electron domains, your regions of electron density. Basically, every place you have a region of electron density, it needs an orbital. So it needs basically a hybrid orbital added together. So notice, if you have 2 electron domains, 2 regions of electron density, you'll need 2 hybrid orbitals. So what happens, no matter what, you always start with your s orbital when you're hybridizing, and then you mix in however many p orbitals you need to get the total number. So if you have 2 electron domains, you need 2 orbitals. So you take an s and a p. That gives you 2 total orbitals, and so it's sp hybridized. If, however, you need something that's, say, tetrahedral, it's got 4 electron domains, you need 4 hybrid orbitals. Well, if you have s, the only way to get to 4 total orbitals is to add 3 p. So in total, there are 4 orbitals. So let's actually take a look at something that's sp3 hybridized. For hybridization, you literally can imagine taking your orbitals and putting them in a blender and seeing what comes out. Notice, of course, we know that a 2s orbital is lower in energy than the 3 degenerate 2p orbitals. But when they hybridize, notice that you actually get 4 equal energy sp3 orbitals. That's why carbon can form 4 distinct bonds, because it actually has 4 single electrons waiting to bond. Otherwise, if it was actually looking like this, we'd be violating Aufbau's principle, right? We wouldn't be filling in our lower energy orbital. But when we recognize hybridized orbitals are all the same energy, that's why carbon has 4 unpaired electrons instead of 2 that are paired up in the 2s sublevel. And then it's interesting to look at what they look like. Notice, of course, p orbitals look like peanuts and s looks like a sphere. So the idea is, so again, you're blending them. If you have 3 p orbitals and 1 s orbital, well, they're going to look mostly like p orbitals, but they're going to be a little bit deformed, right? They're not going to be exactly symmetric anymore because of that s orbital that's contributing. If you had something that was just sp hybridized, then it would have more s character. You might be happy to know that you don't have to explain this. All you have to be able to do is to identify the hybridization, which is why it's so important to count up your electron domains. As long as you know how many electron domains you need, then you can always just add up until you get the right number of orbitals. Remember those expanded octet things, trigonal bipyramidal and octahedral electron geometries? Well, remember how you can only have an expanded octet if you have access to a d sublevel? Here's why. You're hybridizing by adding in d orbitals. Yum. So something that has 5 regions of electron density needs to have 5 hybridized orbitals. But s and p3 is only 4, so you have to add in a d. Whew. And then, of course, octahedral, at that point, you're up to 6. So sp3 is only 4. Now you need 2 d orbitals being added. However, for reasons unknown to me, the hybridization that includes the d sublevels are not AP tested, even though the expanded octet Vesper shapes totally are. So they're going to show up on our practice problems because they totally make sense and we work with things that have expanded octets. But if someone's asking you, like, it's a free response in an AP test, what's the hybridization of blah? Don't put a D sublevel in there. I don't know why. The only ones that you actually need to know that are AP tested are going to be the SP, SP2, and SP3. Let's try a couple of practice problems so that you can see what kind of questions you're going to be asked like this. So here is a given molecule. Now, if you only have one central atom, they're asking about the hybridization on the central atom. But if you have more than one central atom, you can answer for the hybridization on you can actually answer hybridization on any given atom. But we're going to look at the central atom in this practice. So here's nitrogen. For electron domains, remember we're counting regions of electron density. It's got a lone pair and then 1, 2, 3 bonding regions of density for a total of 4 electron domains. Well, 4 domains, I need 4 hybridized orbitals. We always start with s, but that's only 1, so that means I must need 3 p's. So it's sp3 hybridized to get to a grand total of 4 hybridized orbitals. All right, you are going to try these next 2 lovely problems. We're looking at the central atom for both of these. When you're ready to check your answer, unpause the video. Okay, well, HCN only has 2 electron domains. Remember, even though it's a triple bond, it still only counts as a single electron domain, so there's 2 in total. So that means this must be sp hybridized, because we only need 2 orbitals. The next one, formaldehyde, should be getting pretty familiar with this one, has 3 electron domains, right? 3 bonding regions. So hybridization, you need 3 orbitals, so it's going to be sp2. And done. That's it. So you are done with this video, all this lovely, weird, awesome stuff about electrons, but there's one more video to go before you're free. Molecular polarity. I'll see you there.